Can I say clap?
Nice. Hello and welcome back to Technical 101. We are joined as always by Daniela Hathorn, Senior Market Analyst here at Capital.com. What we're going to be talking about today, is it an indicator or is it a technical strategy? What are we doing?
We're looking at a chart pattern. Ooh. We're looking at breakout and retest.
Okay, cool.
So we talked about support and resistance levels.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to this. In fact, the basis is pretty much the same. It's just that you're looking for a specific instance within those support resistance. So
okay.
Let's jump onto the chart.
Yeah.
I think that probably makes most sense.
Yeah, that'll make sense when I see it.
The following information is not to be considered investment advice or investment research. Capital.com would not be liable for any losses from the use of the information provided.
We're going to be looking at the DAX again, same examples as earlier, and we're going to wind back as we did with support and resistance to this period back here in 2021, 2022, where we actually saw a lot of support coming in. Remember, we were saying this area, I'll highlight it again so the viewers can see, but essentially this area here was very, very important for support for pretty much 10 months. We saw every time that sellers tried to come in and bring down the price of the DAX, we saw new buyers ready to jump in at this level here, just around that 14,830 level. So if you were a seller at the time, you would have potentially used that as your stop loss or your take profit.
Yeah.
And if you're a buyer, you would have potentially seen this as a good entry level because you know in the past it's tested so many times as a good area of support.
Yeah.
Now, when we're looking at breakout and retest, we're essentially looking for a pattern that shows a breakout from a support or resistance, wherever it is, and then retesting that same level. And we'll look at it directly on the chart in just a second. But essentially, remember I was saying that support and resistance, one of the main drawbacks is a lot of false breakouts, right? And essentially, breakout and retest is trying to avoid that. So with breakout and retest, you'll see a breakout, and you'll only trade into that once it's retested that area and confirmed that it's not going back.
Okay, yes.
So let's look at it on the chart. For example, here in February 2022, as you can see, after bouncing off many times for the last 10 months, we saw that break below. Obviously, if you wind back, this was during the energy crisis, Russia, Ukraine.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, we know why this makes sense. But as a technical trader, you were like, well, I've seen it bounce in this area so many times. How do I know that this is it? And you can see here, we bounced from that level, broke below it, and then the next day we actually saw some positive momentum. So imagine you haven't got the rest of the candlesticks here, so you're only up to here, and it's broken down all the way to 14,380, and you're like, the next day it's going up, and it's gone up. You know, it fell a significant amount, 3.8%, but the next day it's up 1.4 on the close, probably more on the daily candlestick. How do you know that this is actually, if you'd gone short here, now you'd be thinking, oh my God, did I anticipate too much? Was I too quick to jump the gun? So essentially, the breakout and retest traders will be looking for a retest of that support that now turns as resistance. Yeah. And you can see the next day we saw this. This is a very short time period because there was a lot of volatility in the market, as you know, with the whole fundamental energy crisis and Russia, Ukraine. But you can see here, the next day we actually went back into that area of support and then bounced below it once again. And that would have been the signal for a breakout and retest trader to be like, okay, we've gone back into this area of support. We haven't found support to go higher. This is it. This is where I'm confident that this is going to be a bearish pattern. And there you would have sold, and essentially it would have worked out pretty well. And one of the things, it doesn't always have to be with straight lines on a chart. It can also be other trend lines. So for example, go a little bit further than that. And once we kind of got away from this initial selling, we then came to a period of sideways consolidation. And for example here, let's say you were looking at this descending trend line that was kind of shaping the highs between March 2022 and May. We saw a breakout here. As you can see, this is a top side breakout. Yeah. We came up, and then we actually came back down, and here we didn't see that act as resistance, as you can see, or support in this case. We actually fell through it and went back into the dynamic. So if you were just a support and resistance trader, you would have seen, actually, we've broken resistance, this is a buy, and that would have worked for a time, but for the longer term, that actually didn't work out so great because we actually came back, didn't find the support we needed, breaking down below. So if you were a breakout and retest trader, you maybe would have missed out on this, 14, 15 day candlestick positive move, but in the grand scheme of things, you would have potentially avoided being caught out on that bullish trade because we did come, retest, didn't manage to find that support, came lower. So that is essentially, the signals that you're looking for. Similar here, we found resistance on the top here in June, back again in August, September, and then we actually broke above it here in October. We went higher, retested, found support, broke higher.
Wow, yes.
That would have been your key there to be like, okay, I'm a breakout and retest. I'm not just satisfied with the breakout. I want to make sure that we're not going back into that.
Yeah, and this is new to me, drawing the indicators, drawing the kind of support and resistance, the lines diagonally. Yeah. Can you use them in conjunction with horizontal lines?
Yeah.
Are they both patterns that you can use in conjunction with each other?
So for example, these are horizontal trend lines, these are a descending or ascending, if it was the other way, trend line. So they're all as valid as I said. Same with support and resistance, they don't have to be a straight line, it's just sometimes easier to visualize.
Yeah.
But here you can see just connecting the highs from January here all the way to the lows back here in October. We've got two descending trend lines that in two instances have helped us identify, one, a false breakout strategy, and two, an actual breakout strategy. So here, we broke through, we didn't have that retest for the initial period. As soon as that retest came, we didn't find that support, broke below it. If you would have waited there, you would have actually potentially lost out on this if you're a short-term trader. Yeah. But if you're more of a long-term trader, you would have actually saved yourself maybe some hardship if you actually went long here.
Yeah.
And here we broke away, actually did have that retest, managed to see that this was a long trend. Yeah.
Wow, okay. That's really connected quite a few dots together. Are there any other indicators that you'd use this with? I can see we've already got the RSI on there at the moment. Would you use it with the RSI?
Yeah, again, similar with the support and resistance and breakouts and retests. As I said, they are just drawings on the chart. They're not really mathematical calculations like a lot of these indicators are. So I would always use like the RSI just to give me more of a sentiment. So the RSI, the stochastic sentiment indicators, they're telling you, is it overbought, is it oversold, based on a set calculation. The drawings on the chart give you levels, targets, entry points, exit points, stop loss, take profits. And these are just to back up that theory, whether it's fundamental or technical theory.
Yeah, and I imagine you'd use the fundamentals in this case here, for example, it's broken out, you're testing it again, and then you also marry that with, maybe there's also some bullish fundamentals that are going on in the background as well.
Correct.
And so it's helping.
Correct. Yeah, so if we go to, for example, the energy crisis that we all know, well, we know now that happened, we didn't know back then, but this area has been support for so long, it's actually broken below.
Yeah.
Why could this be the case? Apart from the fact that we've had a retest that's failed, so therefore that's signaled that it's going to go lower. Fundamentally, you're thinking, well, we've had this invasion of Ukraine, oil prices have shot up. This is a stock market, of course, the index. So this is going to mean a lot of hardship for economies. Obviously, any type of uncertainty usually weighs on the stock market. So fundamentally, you would have been able to support this.
Yeah. Okay, great. And once again, are there any drawbacks to this?
Yeah, similar to support and resistance, other than the fact that you draw these yourself.
Yeah.
So sometimes, and I think, as I said, this strategy is to overtake or overcome the false breakout scenario that support and resistance gave us. So even though we've taken a step forward, saying we've avoided that one drawback of support and resistance, the others are still there.
Yeah.
You draw these lines yourself. Not every line that you draw is an accurate support and resistance. It's going to depend on the time frame, and sometimes you can't avoid having a false breakout, even if you're very, very careful, like in this instance.
Yeah. And so would you potentially use your kind of support and resistance as your basic, and then this is just if you want to go that little bit step further, so that you're not too hasty, you don't jump the gun with going long or short, and you just give it that little retest, and you go, okay, no, know it's confirmed, I'm going to go with along with my move.
Essentially, breakout and retest does not exist without support and resistance.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you need a support or resistance line
In order to use it.
in order to have a retest of that line. Otherwise, you're not breaking out anything, you're not retesting.
Yeah.
So they go hand in hand. This one is just a step further for those that are potentially a little bit more cautious and don't want to be caught out in a false breakout, essentially.
Yeah. Okay, great. I mean, that one's a little bit shorter and a little bit sweeter, but I think I completely get it. And I hope those watching at home also get it. So thank you for watching. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.